Hi everyone, welcome back to Watercolour Club. I'm really excited to be back and recording this video for you today. The last time I updated you guys, I had been in hospital for quite a long time, so I was still recovering. So I thought today I would bring you an update and also a new watercolour painting, which is Christmas themed. So you can be using that to make gift tags and Christmas presents, that kind of thing, if you haven't got everyone sorted yet. So first of all, I'll update you. Last year I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and I was in hospital for a long time with complications because of that. So it's been a challenging year. I've had to learn how to do things in a way that doesn't cause me unnecessary pain and fatigue. I had to put on a lot of weight that I had lost during the time that I was ill. And I think it's been a very hard year. But it's also been very enlightening. I've met a lot of people with the same condition as me, and that has taught me a lot about who I am and why I'm having difficulties with different things. And it's also taught me workarounds for some of those things, so I'm learning how to do the things that I enjoy. And so I feel in a much better position to be making paintings and making videos again. And so my plan for 2022 is to bring Watercolour Club back. And so you should be hearing some more from me in 2022, and I'm really excited about that. But let's move on to the Christmas design for today. I will show you what it is that you will need if you are painting along at home. So we are going to be using watercolours, so you need some watercolour paints. So I'm using this Winsor & Newton set. So this is it's kind of a starter set, so it has just a few colours in there, but all the colours that you'll need. And they're really nice paints. They come in a lovely little box. They do have some palettes that come with it, but I'm going to be using this, which is a printing tray really, but I find it works really well as a palette. It's a nice flat surface to work on. You'll need a piece of watercolour paper, so that's thicker than your standard paper that you would draw on, because you need it to not mind getting too wet. So I've cut mine down quite small, so this is A6 size, so half of an A4 and then half it again. You can get 4 paintings out by doing that. You can even cut it smaller than that. I've done some even smaller ones which have turned out to be really pretty, and they work really well for gift tags as well. You will need a pencil just for planning out the design, and a paintbrush, and I'm using this sort of medium to small sized brush, and it's a thin point on the end there, and also a jar of clean water. Mine is slightly dirty, but it's clean enough for what we're going to be doing. I would recommend getting a nice fresh jar of water for your painting today. I also have this really cool new camera, which you'll see will show what I'm doing. I'll just click the button and you should be able to see. I'm still down here in the corner. You can see what I am doing. So this is a really nice addition to my videos, I think. But if you remember, I used to have the camera behind me that would, it was hard. So let's get started. So this is what we're going to be doing today. So you can see I've done it a few times. Some of them I didn't finish this one, but you can see what we are going to be trying to achieve today. They're really nice and simple, but they are very effective as well. So they will look lovely on the top of a Christmas present or on the mantelpiece if you've done them as a Christmas card for somebody. So the first thing that we need to do is plan out our Christmas wreath, and you can use pencil for that, and I would recommend pressing very lightly so that you can just about see it, but in the final painting you won't be able to see those lines. I'm going to have to draw them a little bit darker, so don't copy me there, just draw them until you can see them. I'll just have to draw them dark so that the camera picks it up. So the first thing we're going to do is draw a circle, but it's not going to be a complete circle. It's going to start on the left, it's going to go round, and before it gets to meet that line again, it's going to stop on the right. So you can see that I've got this sort of round shape. It doesn't matter if it's uneven, mine is very uneven there, but this is just to get a frame in a way for your leaves to follow. Next, to draw the ribbon, the center of the ribbon is like a rounded square. So it's a square or a rectangle with rounded corners, and just draw that one in. And then to do the bow on either side, you're going to make a triangle, but one that comes out of this shape you've already drawn, and again with rounded edges. And the same on the other side. And again, don't worry if it's not perfect. In fact, ribbons rarely are the same on both sides, so it might look even better if it's not. And for the ribbon that drops down, you can do one short one, so like that. And you can see I've done this sort of semicircle on the bottom, and then you can draw a longer one beside it. And you can see again that semicircle on the bottom. I will draw that darker so you can see it, but at home you just need this to be a very faint line so that you know where your ribbon needs to be. Brilliant. So the next bit to do is to plan out how your leaves are going to go around the edge of this wreath. And so probably the best example to look at out of my practice ones is this one here. So you can see that I've got some different styles of leaves. I've got 3 different styles. So I've got these big leaves, which are here, here and here. I've got the tiny leaves, which are these little ones down the bottom and here. And then I've got these pairs of leaves, which are slightly different colour. They're a bit darker. And obviously we've got the berries that go around through, but don't worry about those too much for now. So the easiest way to do this is to think about your wreath in sections. So if we first work on either side of the ribbon, we're going to, you can play around with this, but what I'm going to do for this one is put the big leaves here. So I'll mark that by drawing some ovals coming off of that line that we drew. And the same again on this side, so just drawing oval shaped leaves. And again, they don't need to be perfect, they're just a reminder of what it is that you're going to do when you get to that section of your wreath. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the top, and it doesn't matter which way these ones go, but make sure they all go the same way that you choose, like that. And then you can see I've got this blank section and this blank section. So in the middle of each of these, I'm going to put a pair of leaves just on their own. I imagine those to be something like holly leaves, but there's no point drawing those little spikes because this is such a small scale that it's just going to look, they'll just look like leaves from a distance. And then you can see we've got 4 new spaces, one either side of these holly leaves that we've just drawn. And what I like to do is draw tiny little triangles in here, just to remind me when I get there. So the triangles kind of follow the line of the wreath round, like that. And they just remind me when I get there that I'm going to be doing small leaves at that point. So this is what I've ended up with. Let's see if I can focus that. There we go. So you can see that I've got the larger leaves here, some small triangles, and then a pair of leaves, small triangles, large leaves, and then it's the same but in reverse on the way back. And that's all you need for your initial sketch, and hopefully at home this is a lot lighter so that when we put the watercolour over the top you'll barely see that. You can put your pencil to one side, and it's time to prepare the paints. So the colours I'm going to be using today is a green, a yellow and a blue. Whatever versions of yellow and green and blue you've got, we can make it work. So those are the colours that we'll be using for the main wreath, and then we'll be adding on some red at the end for the berries and for the bow. So the first thing to do is to set up your palette. So I've wet my paintbrush, and I'm going to first of all get some green and pull it down onto my palette underneath. And I want quite a lot of it because I don't want to run out of it and need to grab more in the middle. That would ruin the flow of what we're doing. So pop a lot on there like that, and then wash your brush nice and thoroughly, and then grab some yellow. So I'm going for this yellow here. So bring the yellow down onto the palette beside the green. And again, you want quite a lot of this. And then I'm going to go for this ultramarine blue at the top, which is my favourite one out of the blues I've got on my palette. And bring them down, and then you should have a little line, a little row of yellow, green, blue in that order. And what that means is we'll be able to mix those together and make different greens for the different leaves. So as you'll probably know, yellow and blue together will create a green colour. So we're just wanting to make a yellow end to the spectrum of the green and a blue end to the spectrum of the green, so that our wreath looks really, really alive with greenery. Okay, so first of all, I want you to wash your brush off really thoroughly so that all you've got left is water. And we're going to start by tracing this line round the wreath so that we have a wet background behind these leaves. It doesn't matter how precise you are, we just want that to kind of go round. You don't need to paint in these individual leaves, we're just painting a ring. And this is going to be the background, so this is going to be the furthest back from the person that's viewing the image. I'm then going to pick up some paint, and each time I do, I'm going to mix between the colours. So I'm going to start with this, I'm going to add a little bit, and you can see the water kind of starts to carry it round. And then I'm going to add a bit from the yellow, and then I'm going to go to the blue, and I'm not washing my brush off in between these because I'm just wanting it to kind of flow into each other. And just don't try thinking about it too hard, just pick up the colour that feels right next and just add them on and watch them spread out. And we want this to be quite light, so we don't want loads of paint, we just want it to sort of blend back into the background. There we go. And next is my absolute least favourite bit, which is waiting for this bit to dry. So I would give that just a few minutes, or if you've got a hairdryer, give that a blast with a hairdryer, and that will be done before you know it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll speed this section up so that it doesn't take you ages, but please do remember to dry your painting at home before carrying on with the next bit. Okay, so mine is nice and dry now, so I did give it a little blast with the hairdryer just to make sure. So if you're in any doubt, just touch lightly over your painting and you can feel whether it's wet or dry, or if it's going to smudge. And that it's really important that it's dry so that the detail that we put on for the leaves doesn't just blur out into the background that we've just done. So if you're in any doubt, just pause the video and wait until yours is definitely fully dry before carrying on. So next we're going to put some detail onto the leaves. So wet your brush, but you don't want quite as much water as before, so we're not working with a wet background this time. And have a little play with your colours to find a colour that you really like. And this is for the largest leaves at first. So I quite like them to be quite dark. So I've gone for this kind of foresty green, which has got quite a bit of blue in it. And you want to make sure you've mixed enough of this colour to do all of those leaves that you've drawn out. Now once I'm happy with the colour, I am turning my paintbrush around in the paint, and what that does is it just makes a really nice sharp point on my paintbrush so that it's not splayed out and I can be a bit more precise. So what I like to do is, actually I'll start on this side. I'm going to draw the stem and the next leaf in one sweep like that, and then I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to start from the leaf and go back down, and it kind of joins on to the one that I did before, and then start at the tip of the leaf and back down, and then this is the last one like so. And that's all there is to it. It is very easy to overthink it and try and round off or add extra points on, but if you just leave it, we can add more detail later if necessary. So pick up that same colour again, and we're going to do the same thing. So I'm starting from the bottom on the first leaf. I don't know why I do that, but you find a system that works for you, I guess, eventually. And then start from the tip and go down, and start from the tip and go down, and I've got one more of those leaves from that one down, and then we mustn't forget this one at the top, which is the same. So I've just got enough paint left to do that, but that was close, so make sure you've mixed enough paint. So I'm starting from the tops of these ones. Essentially you're just filling in those lines that you made earlier, like so. And it's already starting to look like a little wreath. So now we need to mix a new colour for these leaves in the middle, these two pairs of leaves. So for this one I'm going to add a lot more yellow. So actually this colour that has just appeared from touching that yellow is quite nice. I'm not sure there's quite enough of it, so I'll add a bit more green in. Just play around. You just want it to look a bit different to the colour that you just put down. And it's this pair. Just fill in those shapes. And the same on the other side. Fill in those shapes. Don't think too hard about it. There we go. And now we need one more colour, and I'm going to go for lighter again, so more yellow. In fact, I've run out of yellow on my palette, so I'm going to add a lot more in. Lots more yellow. Make a really nice light coloured leaf. And for these ones, where it's just where we've just drawn triangles just to tell us what to do, I'm going to feather out from each of the leaves. Not sure if you saw. So over the triangle, and yours will be really faint, and then feather out from those shapes so you can see what starts to happen. And to do that again on the next section. So feathering out, feathering out. It just adds a little bit of variety to the kinds of leaves that you've got going. So draw the centre up through the middle of the triangle you drew, and then feather them out. There we go. So the next bit is to mix another colour, and we can do this a few times. We're just going to add little sections on, so just lines. They don't need to really represent anything. Maybe you want to add another little feathery one. I quite like just doing little lines. Like so, and then maybe you change the colour, mix around, maybe some blue in that one, and add some more on. And it just means every time you do this, it will look slightly different. which is really, really nice. Means that if you do this several times for different people, then everybody gets a completely unique thing. So I'm quite happy with that wreath. So I'm going to give my brush a wash, and that's it for the greens. So I'm going to move on to the bow, and I'm going to grab some of this really bright red, really bright, and pop it down on my palette. And I'm also going to grab the red which is next to it and pop that down as well. And then mix the two very slightly. So with a darker one, I'm going to get mostly paint on my brush at that point and draw around the outline that I did in pencil. Just following that outline. Don't need to worry about filling it in at this point. And what you can also do is some lines coming out from the bow, like that, which just adds a bit of shading in. And we're going to leave that to dry. So I'll see you once that's dry. Okay, so mine is nice and dry. It's not smudging if I touch it, which is what we want. So I'm now going to pick up some more of this red, and this was a bit more of a more watery mixture, and I'm just going to brush it over the top of what I've done. And what that does, the outline and the marks that you've made, they kind of stay, and this ends up filling in the gaps. And then you're ready to add, I'm actually going to add some more red on here. And then you're ready to add some berries onto your wreath. And I use those berries to cover up any area, or not cover them up, but draw attention away from any areas which I feel like didn't go so well. So if I have a leaf that kind of ended up a funny shape, then I might pop a berry near it or on it, so that the leaf kind of falls backwards and isn't the focus of that point. So they can kind of dot around wherever you want. You don't want to overdo it, but just a few dots of red here and there. I'm just lightly tapping them on. No, I'm quite happy with those leaves, so what I'll do is pop some berries below them. And this one wasn't so good, so I'm popping, these ones didn't go well at all, so I'm adding some more berries onto this side. You can see how it just kind of takes the focus away from there. There we go. And then you can keep coming back to this ribbon as well and adding some more definition around those edges. And what you can do when this is fully dry is go around and add some fine liner onto it, some black fine liner, just to pick out maybe some of the outlines of the leaves, or pick out the edge of the bow. That can look really nice. I haven't tried it on this, but it'd be interesting to see what would happen. But fine liner is a nice combination with watercolour, I find. And that's my wreath. So I'd be really interested to see how these turned out for you. So you can upload your designs onto the Facebook group for Watercolour Club, and I'm really excited to see what you've managed to do at home, or if you've done anything different, or what you've actually done with the final pieces. Did you make gift cards out of them, gift tags out of them, or Christmas cards? Yeah, I want to know. So let me know how you got on, and I'll see you next year. Merry Christmas, everybody.